Hello, welcome to this session. This is session 5 of Unit 4, Public Policy and Debt Management. In this session, we'll continue with our journey on public debt. So, in this session, we're looking at the types of public debt available to the government, right? Or the types of public debt that are being used by any government, and also some are being used by the government of Ghana as well. So by the end of the session, we will be discussing the different types of public debt and determine the conditions attached to each type of public debt. Okay, so let's zoom into the types of public debt then. So we have the very first one being the internal and external debt. Remember we said public debt are debt which are basically borrowings from within or outside of the country. So the very first one we are looking at is the internal and external debt. So this can be taken straight from the definition of public debt. Right. So internal debt refers to debt or public loans floated within the country. So examples of these ones are the treasury bills and then bonds which are issued by the government in the country. Right. So these are what internal debt. Then external debt refers to the obligations of a country to foreign countries or international institutions. So if if the government borrows from um, foreign countries or institutions such as the IMF or the World Bank, these are external debt. So we have the century bonds which were issued in the Europe markets and then the Euro bond as well. So these are all forms of external debt, right? So all these debt has an attached condition, right? So for the treasury bill, for instance, the government attaches conditions such as interest. So the interest are the conditions are part of the conditions which are attached to the treasury bill. Then the external debt as well, it comes with its own condition. Remember, if IMF is giving you a facility, they come with some restrictions. For instance, the current one that we are facing is that we have to restructure our debt in terms of internal debt. The government must find a way to restructure this debt. Then we have the second type of public debt, that's the productive and unproductive debt. So we hear the word productive, we know that something good must come out of what is being done. So productive debt, we are saying refers to government loans that are invested in productive assets. So the government raises this loan to engage in projects that will lead or that will yield inflows for the country in order to service this debt. So the government, say for example, the government goes for funds to get cement fertilizers for farmers to produce. You know that obviously the produce for these farmers will lead to an inflow, or the government is going to export this produce, and then that will be an inflow for the government, right? On the other hand, the unproductive debt are debt that are raised for unproductive purposes, right? So, say assuming there is a conflict in one of the regions in Ghana, and the government of Ghana goes for money to support, support peacekeeping or support the security agencies in order to go and bring peace in this particular conflict area. That is an unproductive debt because it's not going to yield any inflow, right? There is no profit coming out from that particular venture. The third debt that we have, the third type of debt that we have is the redeemable and then irredeemable debt. So the redeemable debts are loans which the government promises to pay off at some future date, or called redeemable debt. Like these days, the government actually promises to pay them off at some future date. So the treasury debt, the bonds and co, the government are paying them back. So these are redeemable debt. And the irredeemable debt refers to loans which no promise is made by the government regarding the exact date of maturity or when they are going to pay back. Remember, treasury bills are for 3 months, 6 months, and then 1 year. But there are some other instruments that the government do not actually promise when it's going to pay. So those funds are irredeemable debt. For Ghana, I don't know any example of irredeemable debt yet, right? But then I believe some other countries have some available. We have the funded and then unfunded debt, right? The funded debt are long-term debts created by the government for generating a permanent capital asset. So assuming the government wants to construct a road, right? So the government goes in for funds to kind of construct that road. That's a funded debt. So that's the type of funded debt. Then the unfunded debt, these are debts which are not for generating permanent capital assets, right? So basically the opposite of the funded debt. Then we have the short-term, medium-term, and then the long-term debt. The short-term debts are just debt for 3 to 9 months. So a typical example would be the 91 days treasury bill. That's a short-term debt. The government takes that and then 3 months later pays back the lenders, right? And we have the medium-term loans, which are loans which mature within a period of 1 to 10 years. So these are the medium-term loans. Then we have the long-term one, which is for periods exceeding 10 years. So a typical example will be the century bond that we took not long ago. And then we have the compulsory and voluntary debt. The compulsory debt, the government actually forces people to actually, or takes money from people compulsorily, right? In Ghana, I don't know if there's any, but then that's a compulsory debt basically. Then we have the voluntary debt, which the people willingly give loans to the government for its activities. So this brings us to the end of this particular presentation. So here we've looked at the various types of public debt that are available in Ghana, and then some also are not available in Ghana yet. So we can take a few minutes to recap. If you don't understand anything, revisit that particular slide and then have clarity on that. Or you can also revise from the study manual to get more understanding.